Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Sources say around 1,000 people will be allowed to travel to mainland quarantine-free daily in the first phase of reopening. Sacked British engineer accuses construction giant Leighton of racial discrimination. And top Communist Party meeting kicks off in Beijing with eyes on the resolution, which will cement Xi Jinping's status. Chief Executive Carrie Lam stressed that the long-awaited resumption of quarantine-free travel to the mainland will be done in baby steps. Sources say daily northbound travelers will be capped at around 1,000, and a circuit breaker mechanism will be in place. Alman Lee tells us more.
Speaking to the Hong Kong Economic Times, Chief Executive Carrie Lam confirmed that quarantine-free travel to the mainland will resume in phases. Similar to the return to Hong Kong and come to Hong Kong schemes, Lam said during the initial phase, Hong Kong travelers will be confined to Guangdong province. She hoped that SAR residents will be able to move freely within Guangdong, but admitted it was not up to her to decide. There'll also be a cap on the number of northbound travelers, the chief executive added. Sources said there will be a daily quota of no less than 1,000, with priority given to those who need to travel on compassionate or business grounds. But Lam conceded that cross-border students are unlikely to enjoy the benefit, as there are too many of them. On top of being fully vaccinated, travelers will likely be asked to provide proof that they are COVID-free. Another crucial requirement will be using the mainland's health code, a powerful system which tracks users' whereabouts, as well as limits locations they can or cannot go. They will also need to voluntarily submit the list of Hong Kong premises they had visited through the Leave Home Safe app. Lam hinted that select land borders will reopen first, such as the port for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. It's also believed a suspension mechanism will be put in place, with the mainland proposing that the travel arrangement be halted if there's a single community infection in the SAR. The SAR government, however, wanted more leeway on so-called reinfections and local infections linked to overseas arrivals. Amelie, HKIBC.
A British engineer has taken construction giant Leighton to court for alleged racial discrimination. The blasting specialist who worked on the Tseung Kwan O Lam Tin Tunnel detailed how he was excluded from meetings and called a guaylo by his colleagues. Grace Ma reports.
The first day of the Equal Opportunities Action trial has begun for a British engineer who accused Leighton Contractors Asia of racial discrimination. Francis Hayden was formerly a department head at the construction firm and was in charge of blasting operations for the Tseung Kwan O Lam Tin Tunnel project. The district court heard today that he was called a guaylo at work and ostracized by colleagues. Things took a turn for the worse in January 2017 when Hayden went on leave for 16 days. When he returned to work, he found out his department held an internal meeting without his presence. He lodged a complaint with his supervisor, only to be dismissed. The claimant believed he was sacked because he did not speak Chinese. He was allegedly circumvented in decision-making when his supervisor appointed a subordinate of his to work on certain procedures. He is now seeking compensation of $200,000 for injury to feelings and the loss of income following his dismissal in February 2017. But Leighton rejected his claims, saying there was no need for the company to notify him of work matters during his leave of absence. It was also irresponsible for Hayden to go straight to the management to complain without trying to understand the circumstances, it added. The trial is expected to last 6 days. Grace Ma, HKIBC.
Former Democratic Party lawmaker Nelson Wong has pledged to fight to pardon his allies in jail, shall he win another term in the Legislative Council. But the veteran Democrat admitted he is far from securing enough nominations to enter the race. Grace Ma has more.
While Nelson Wong failed to win the 2016 Legislative Council by-election, many still remembered his campaign costume, the so-called middle ground Ultraman. The moderate Democrat had vowed back then it would be the last time he ran for a seat. But today, the former Democratic Party member voiced his intention to return to LegCo. The 64-year-old even came with an ambitious manifesto.
I will hope the government grant amnesty for the Democrats who are in the jail, because those people are my friends. They work for Hong Kong, they work for Hong Kong's Democrats for many, many years.
But time is running out for Wong. With just 4 days before the nomination period ends, the veteran Democrat has only secured 1 nomination out of 10 needed. Fellow centrist Alan Wong had better luck. As an affiliate of the Path of Democracy, Wong submitted his bid for the New Territories Northeast geographical constituency today. The recycling businessman admitted it was not easy to secure enough nominations because his group was lesser known. But he insisted the party did not seek help from Beijing's liaison office or the pro-establishment camp. Over in the functional constituency, lawyer Ambrose Lam became the first to sign up in the legal sector. Lam was forced to resign as president of the Law Society in 2014 after members passed a motion of no confidence against him. He did not specify how he would regain the trust from his peers, only saying he would serve the sector humbly and sincerely. Cleric Peter Kuhn has also tossed his hat into the ring. The provincial secretary-general of Hong Kong Shen Kong-wei denied publicizing religion, arguing he only wished the sector to have a voice in LegCo. Kuhn, who has been assisting murder suspect Chan Tong-kai, added he still hopes to resolve Chan's future. The cleric will go up against at least 38 candidates in the election committee sector. For the latest list of other nominees, please visit this website by the Registration and Electoral Office. Grace Ma, HKIBC.
An education university student who completed a detention center order is now seeking to overturn his conviction of assaulting a police officer. Ka Wen-long told the appellate court that a lower court magistrate made an error in identifying the suspect from a video clip. The clip showed a black-clad person with a green face mask assaulting a police officer at a September 2019 protest in Lok Fu MTR station. But the student today said he was actually wearing a black face covering and was caught by police at a later time. The case is adjourned to an undecided date for the court to cross-reference his claims. The Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee kicked off its 6th plenary session in Beijing today. The 4-day conference is expected to see the passing of a resolution that will enshrine President Xi Jinping's place in history. Wong explains.
Security around Beijing's Jingxi Hotel was ramped up today as Chinese Communist Party members arrived for the meeting. According to state media, President Xi Jinping delivered a work report. He also made explanations to a draft landmark resolution, which members are likely to pass this time. The so-called historical resolution will be the third of its kind in the party's history. The first 2 were brought up by Mao Zedong in 1945 and Deng Xiaoping in 1981. Some analysts believe it's Xi's way of solidifying his status as an iconic Chinese leader, putting himself amid the ranks of Mao and Deng. They also think he could be paving the way for an unprecedented 3rd term, despite expectations for him to step down in the fall of 2022. And there are signs the president is drumming up public support for that. Special profiles were published in both the Chinese and English versions of state media Xinhua News Agency, casting Xi as the man who will continue to lead China. They called him a core figure in charting the course of history, adding that people around the world are watching Xi just as closely as they were 9 years ago. The articles also dubbed Xi as a people's leader, listing the number of times he visited disaster and poverty-stricken areas. And they praised him for his response to COVID-19, especially during the epidemic's early days in 2020. Xi was also credited for strengthening the party in a number of ways. For example, his sweeping anti-corruption campaign, which shows no signs of letting up, and snuffing out attempts to instigate a color revolution in Hong Kong back in 2019. The plenary session ends on Thursday. Wong, HKIBC.
And coming up after the break. United States and Japan among countries opening up their borders to vaccinated travelers.